Alright guys, today I'm going to show you how to preserve some pumpkin. Right now pumpkin is in season, and so if you don't have a garden of your own where you can grow pumpkin, you can get it from the supermarket. The best way to make and to preserve pumpkin is to do pumpkin puree. With pumpkin, you cannot can pumpkin puree, so you can't do a water bath canner or pressure canner with pumpkin puree. Now, if you want to pressure can pumpkin, you have to cube it, and it has to be in water. This is because pumpkin is a very low acid food, and if you do that, then if you try to can it as pumpkin puree, it could get botulism. So we don't do it that way. I prefer to just have pumpkin puree because it's already ready, and I can put it in muffins or bread or pumpkin pie, and I don't have to take the extra step of draining off the water and then blending up and making the puree. So the first thing that you're going to do is get some pie pumpkins. They work best for this. They have the best flavor. You're going to cut the pie pumpkin in half, and you're going to remove the seeds. This is very similar to the way you would do it if you were just carving a jack-o'-lantern. So you're just going to scoop the seeds out. You can either save the seeds for pumpkin seeds, or you can wash them or rinse them and dry them and then freeze them, and you can actually use them to plant pumpkins in your garden next year. This is kind of a messy step, but we're going to try to get as much of this stringy stuff out of there as we can. If you can't get all of it, it's okay, because you will blend up the pumpkin after it's cooked and you'll get a nice consistency. Alright, so that's pretty good, and you'll put them on a baking sheet. I line my baking sheet with parchment paper. It's easier to clean up after. You need to preheat your oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. And then once you get all of the seeds cleaned out, you'll sprinkle a little kosher salt onto the pumpkin halves. Just like that. Let me rinse right here. Alright, so now that you have your pumpkin halves on your baking sheet, you're going to take some kosher salt. Don't need a ton. And you're just going to sprinkle it into the flesh of the pumpkin. Alright, then you're going to flip the pumpkins over. And they go into your preheated oven, 400 degree oven, and they cook for about 40 minutes. And you'll know that they're done when you can poke a set the timer before I forget. Okay, so you'll know that they're done when you can take a paring knife and it pokes through the skin of the pumpkin very easily. Now that your pumpkin is ready, it should be nice and soft, you're going to use your spoon and you're going to scrape out all of the pumpkin flesh. You need to be gentle because the skin of the pumpkin is pretty fragile at this point, and you don't want to get the skin into your puree. So as you can see, you can, there's still a little bit more here that we can get. All right, and that's pretty well everything that we can get without getting into the skin of the pumpkin. Then once you have this, you'll put it into your blender and or food processor, and you'll pulse it up until you get a nice kind of applesauce, baby food consistency. Okay, I like to use these 8-ounce half-pint jars because the pumpkin recipe that our family uses on a regular basis calls for 1 cup of pumpkin puree, and so this jar fits 1 cup. And so what you'll do is you'll want to make sure that these jars are washed and clean before you put the puree into them. So you can run them through the dishwasher or just wash them with nice hot soapy water. All right, you want to try to get the air bubbles out. And in canning terms, we use the term headspace. And so at the bottom of the rings, that gives you a 1/2 inch headspace. And so that's a good amount of headspace to kind of allow for expansion when you're freezing it. And you can either use a regular 2-piece canning lid, or if you can find them, these nice plastic canning lids. Either way is totally fine. Sometimes the plastic ones are a little easier to come off after you've had them in the freezer. Then you'll just mark on the top of these the day that you processed it, and they should be good in your freezer for up to a year. Thanks everyone for watching.